I've always been a lover of television. It reminds me of my family and of my couch, which you all know by now that I have a weird affinity for. But I grew up watching TV. From the Rugrats to, I'm ashamed to admit, Pokemon days, to loving Lizzie McGuire on Disney Channel, it was an essential part of my childhood. And now that I'm on my way to adulthood, which is something that I struggle to accept, TV plays just as big a role in my life. But today, I'm overwhelmed by the options that television affords. There are more shows currently in production than I could ever dream of watching in a lifetime, and keeping up with even a few programs can seem like a full-time job. Watching a TV is like owning a pet. It follows you everywhere, constantly pulling at your attention and your heartstrings. So how did we get to this point? In this presentation, I will discuss the evolution of television and how it impacts the current landscape of this rapidly evolving industry. In order to establish that, we've got to travel back to the beginning. The concept of television has existed pretty much since the creation of photography, but it didn't become a reality until a 21-year-old man named Philo Farnsworth transmitted the first image across a San Francisco laboratory in 1927. The first picture, in case you're wondering, was a blurry line. As that ridiculously exciting image might indicate, advancement of the technology was slow. In the 1930s and 40s, little progress was made. Early attempts at televised events were limited, and experimental broadcasts, such as this recording of a 1936 NBC program, were only sent to a handful of screens.
Good afternoon. This is Milton J. Cross, very delighted to be allowed to participate in this demonstration on television. For your delectation, we draw on Harlem for that droll comic Eddie Green and his partner George Wilshire, offering a little philosophic erudition.
Hello, Jerry.
Oh, look at you. Yes, sir. Where you dressed? Where you going?
Boy, I'm going down Lenox Avenue to the restaurant to get me something to eat.
I'm glad you is. I'm glad. You know, I can't stay with you, though.
What's the matter?
It's too hot in Harlem for me. I'm going somewhere where it's cool, right?
Too hot?
Yeah.
Why don't you go to my home, boy?
You got to, where you?
Nova Scotia.
Go.
No, Nova Scotia.
Go away.
It's cool there all the time.
Oh, it is? How cool do it get?
Well, last winter it was so cool.
Go away.
It was actually 30 degrees below zero.
Below who?
Below zero?
Who?
That's the thermometer.
Well, the thing what goes?
Yeah, the thermometer. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Is that cool? That's cool.
Sure, it's cold.
Oh, man.
30 below zero.
So as you can see, not exactly quality footage, or especially enthralling stuff. Progress was hampered even further by patent disputes and court battles with major corporations. Then two minor events that you may have heard of, the Great Depression and World War II, came along and put an effective but temporary halt to the spread of television. Temporary, I say, because the golden age of television was coming. After the war, a booming economy and a general public with disposable income for the first time in 20 years spurred the growth of the television industry. By 1948, 1 million American homes owned television sets, and the golden age of television had officially begun. TV began to take over as the new medium for family entertainment and news services. High-spirited, realistic, and optimistic shows such as Leave It to Beaver and I Love Lucy reflected the idealism and consumerism of the period. Most shows revolved around the traditional nuclear family, complete with a manicured housewife, doting husband, and picture-perfect children. TV was on its way to surpassing radio as the primary source for news and family fun. Instead of being crouched around the radio, families filled the couch every night for entertainment. The arrival of the 60s brought flower power and hippies and Woodstock, no doubt, but it also brought new revelations for the television industry. By 1962, 90% of Americans had access to TV. Live coverage of major national and international incidents, like the assassination of President John F. Kennedy and the burgeoning Cold War, gave Americans a new perspective on current events and the U.S.'s place in the world. And in 1962, a news reporter and emerging CBS anchorman by the name of Walter Cronkite took the industry by storm. By the end of the decade, Cronkite would be referred to as the most trusted man in America, according to public opinion polls. His reporting on controversial events such as the Civil Rights Movement and the Vietnam War effectively swayed public opinion and displayed the potential power of the media to influence politics. This 1968 commentary by Cronkite decisively swayed Americans in opposition to the Vietnam War, and essentially ended President Lyndon B. Johnson's chances at re-election. Following the newscast, Johnson is famously quoted as saying, "If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost the nation."
To say that we are closer to victory today is to believe, in the face of the evidence, the optimists who have been wrong in the past. To suggest we are on the edge of defeat is to yield to unreasonable pessimism. To say that we are mired in stalemate seems the only realistic, if unsatisfactory, conclusion. On the off chance the military and political analysts are right, in the next few months we must test the enemy's intentions in case this is indeed his last big gasp before negotiations. But it is increasingly clear to this report that the only rational way out then will be to negotiate, not as victors, but as an honorable people who lived up to their pledge to defend democracy and did the best they could. This is Walter Cronkite. Good night.
The 60s held even further advancements for television, past news reporting, and political influence. This decade also marked the advent and spread of color television, which only fueled the popularity fire that TV had become. With only 3 stations, NBC, CBS, and ABC, broadcasting programs, the TV shows of the 60s were often elementary, targeted at the lowest common denominator and crafted with mass appeal in mind. But this would all change with the advent of a new decade and the expansion of cable television. Cable TV had been in existence since the 1950s, when it was used to allow consumption in rural areas or regions with mountainous terrain that didn't receive satellite or broadcast transmissions. But in the 1970s, cable television took on a new meaning. With an ever-expanding and ever-hungry audience, the demand for more programming drove entrepreneurs to create cable shows, which offered an alternative to the mainstream offerings from broadcast channels. Another progressive move in the 1970s was the appointment of Barbara Walters as the first female co-anchor in 1972. This occurrence was dramatized in the following scene from this critically acclaimed 2004 film.
What? I didn't understand a one word you said.
Ron, are you okay? Ron.
Ron, where are you?
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
Look, he's gonna put Corning Stone on. He's gonna put Corning Stone on!
I've got to do the news!
You're not Ron.
Ron in 10. Good luck, lady.
Ready to announce. Rolling out.
One slip, and you're gone. Whammy.
And your reporter in the field, Brian Santana. It's Channel 4 News at 6 o'clock.
Good evening. Ron Burgundy is off tonight. I'm Veronica Corningstone. Tonight's top story.
Okay, we're off and running.
Wearing ski masks made off with over $20,000 from an area bank in a daring early morning robbery. And the winner of the frog leaping contest was Hoppy, with a jump of 7 feet, 10 inches. I used to date a guy named Hoppy down in Alabama. He was quite a jumper, too. Well, that'll do it for us at 6 o'clock. From all of us here at Channel 4 News, I'm Veronica Corningstone. And thanks for stopping by, San Diego.
All clear.
Okay, so while Anchorman may not give the most accurate depiction of that historic event, it is true that Walters faced opposition from coworkers and many people in the television industry. Perhaps her biggest critic was co-host Harry Reasoner, who clearly opposed her addition to the news team. Reasoner may not have been quite as sexist as Ron Burgundy, but there is some truth behind every good story. In general, the programming of the 70s reflected the progressivity of Walters' accomplishment. The expansion of cable TV allowed for more diversity, and Bill Cosby proved that American audiences were ready for successful, entertaining, and fully developed Black characters. MASH, which still holds the record for most viewers for a single television episode, reflected the growing desire of character development and fusion of genres. And Saturday Night Live, the enduring comedy favorite, also got its start in the 1970s. The quick development of television technology and programming spurred equally speedy adaptation in the advertising industry. At the outset, television shows were primarily funded through brand sponsorship of an entire series or episode, like the Colgate Comedy Hour. But as TV's popularity grew, so did the price for airtime for advertisers. Soon, advertising was being sold in shorter segments, and by the 80s, advertisements were almost singularly sold in 30 or 60-second commercial spots. Prices for advertising during major television events again skyrocketed, and some were quick to criticize the system. Until 1984, that is, when Apple aired the now iconic Super Bowl commercial that introduced the computer and proved the advertising naysayers wrong in one 60-second fell swoop. As the 80s transitioned into the 90s, cable TV continued its fervent expansion, and popular cable channels like A&E, HBO, and MTV led to more diversity in programming and an increasingly fractured American TV audience. Peacetime and economic boom spurned programs featuring single, young, savvy, and irreverent characters like Sex and the City and Friends. Along with those fun and independent characters and sitcoms, a whole nother genre of television rose to popularity in the 90s. The concept of reality television had been around since the 1950s, but it wasn't until the premiere of The Real World from upstart cable network MTV that our modern perception of reality TV emerged. Dramatic premises filled with larger-than-life characters soon began popping up all over the industry, and the success of these reality programs still continues today. But with the arrival of The Sopranos, a sinister show about a mob family, in 1997, the television industry entered its modern phase, which is being hailed as the second golden age of television. But as we'll see, this era bears little resemblance to the golden years of the 50s. As technological advancements and societal change present new challenges, the industry is being forced to adapt in new ways. Because of the variety of modern programming, the modern golden age can be difficult to define. But one similarity that runs throughout most critical and commercial successes is the emergence of the anti-hero, or the bad guy that we all love to hate. These dark shows examine complex characters in shady but realistic settings, and the focus has shifted from action and plot to character development. While the new millennium may have brought a new variety of programming, it might be most defined by the technological advancements that have drastically altered the consumption and audience. One such innovation is time shifting, or as we know it, recorded television. The ability to record shows and watch them at our convenience has changed everything that networks have come to expect from viewers. The audience was taking back control of their schedules. The effects of time shifting have caused repercussions throughout the industry, from advertising to ratings analysis to actual programming. Netflix has changed the way we consume television as well. The online streaming service, which features a library of thousands upon thousands of movies and TV series, has given viewers even more independence. According to a survey from Ipsos Media, 75% of television viewers have used an online streaming service in the last month. For many, binge watching has replaced reading as a casual pastime. And a little thing called social media has also caused major ripples throughout the television industry. The ability for additional interaction with shows and immediate feedback via social media has presented a new avenue for measuring a program's success and a new outlet for viewers to delve deeper into television. As the second screen or use of mobile or tablet devices during shows grows more and more popular, advertisers and industry executives alike have found a new route for expanding their brand and connecting with audiences. So where does all this mayhem leave us? The television industry, once limited to rudimentary programming and mass appeal, has evolved into a whole new beast since its creation in the 1930s. With more diversity, more audience segmentation, and more technological advances than we know what to do with, come less market share and less potential to impact an entire nation. Cable TV surpassed the networks long ago, and now new tech-savvy upstarts like Netflix and Amazon Prime are giving everyone a run for their money. And as more and more power is being placed in the hands of the viewers, television's fate becomes even more unclear. All I know is that I'm just happy to be along for the ride, soaking in this golden age of uncertainty.